Good morning, Year 11. So a little bit of a different do now for us today. What I'd like you to do is draw two circles for me, and there's some words and phrases underneath, and I'd like you to decide which you think they describe the best. So do you think they describe the witches, or do you think they describe Lady Macbeth? If there's any words that you don't know the meanings of, please do just have a quick Google of them to find out the meanings, or you can email me and I'll let you know. But you should have two full circles by the end of this do now task that clearly show which words are attached to which characters. So last lesson we had a look at some quotations about Lady Macbeth, and we started to think about her as a character in the play. So this is a AP4 that has been written about how Lady Macbeth is seen in the play as a whole. So what we're going to do is we're going to read it through together, and we're going to think about what is good about this paragraph and why, and then how it could be improved, okay? So Lady Macbeth appears to be seen as a dominant and controlling woman within the play. This can be seen at the beginning of the play when she commands the spirits to come and unsex me here. This portrays her as powerful and commanding woman. She wishes that the supernatural beings will strip her of her femininity and make her masculine in order to be able to commit the murder of Duncan herself. The imperative and command term come automatically shows us that she is in control and determined to be masculine. Moreover, the reference to spirits shows us that Lady Macbeth has associations with the supernatural and therefore could foreshadow her evil nature. Contextually, Lady Macbeth is going against the typical gender stereotypes of femininity in the Jacobean era, calm, collected and submissive. Also, due to the Jacobeans being heavily religious, she is seen to be going against God due to her summoning the spirits, which are often associated with the devil. The Jacobean audience would instantly dislike Lady Macbeth's adoption of masculine qualities in association with the supernatural. Shakespeare challenges the gender stereotypes here and shows the audience how dangerous women can actually be. Okay then, so first of all we're going to think about what is good in this paragraph, okay? So the first good thing is that it clearly follows the PCOR structure, doesn't it? It does a full PCOR, it thinks about absolutely everything that we asked you to think about in the PCOR. So that's the first good thing. The second thing is that it's got a lot of explanation behind it. Nothing is left vague. So if you think about here, so they've got the original quotation, so come and unsex me here. So this portrays her as powerful and commanding woman. She wishes that the supernatural beings will strip her of her femininity and make her masculine in order to be able to commit the murder of Duncan herself. That is their explanation. It's clear, isn't it? Exactly what Lady Macbeth is doing. They've also got that imperative command term, come. So they've not just picked a key word out, they've also named the language feature that's there. And it's, again, they're explaining what that shows us. They've also broken down the word spirits and said this linked to the supernatural, and it could foreshadow what will happen next in the play. The context is linked to this, so she's going against the typical gender stereotypes of femininity, okay? And also, they've not just spoken about femininity, but they've thought about religion and going against God and summoning the spirits. They've thought about the Jacobean audience and how they would instantly dislike Lady Macbeth's adoption of their masculine qualities. And they've also thought about it shows the audience how dangerous women can be. So it is a very good response. However, there are some things that are missing. So we're going to go on to the next slide and we're going to have a look at what might be missing. Okay then, so now we're going to have to think about how we could improve this paragraph, okay? So actually, the language analysis in this paragraph is pretty good. So all the way up to here, I would say is pretty much the best that it could be. However, after that, there are a couple of bits that we could add in. So contextually, so they talk about the typical gender stereotypes of femininity, and then they briefly kind of list these adjectives: calm, collected and submissive. You could obviously develop that and you could explain it a little bit more. So you could explain the fact that obviously it was a patriarchal society, men dominated, women were expected to be good wives and good mothers, and that was basically all they were expected to do. So you could develop that point a little bit more. The second point they talk about then, so also the Jacobeans were heavily religious, and she's going against God by summoning the spirits in the first place because they're associated with the devil. Well, that is correct, but you could also think about the fact that she's going against the divine right of kings, because obviously she wants to be masculine in order to kill King Duncan. So it's not just the fact that she's calling the spirits, she's summoning them, she wants to get rid of her feminine values. It's actually the fact that she also is going against the king. So she wants to do all of that in order to commit treason. So you could explain that there too. They've thought about a Jacobean audience, and that's correct. You know, they would instantly dislike Lady Macbeth's adoption of the masculine qualities and the association with the supernatural. If we think about a modern audience, however, their opinions might be slightly different, because obviously in modern society we don't live in a patriarchal society, so that means that women aren't just seen as being mothers and you know, wives. So perhaps Lady Macbeth wouldn't feel this way as much if she lived in a modern society, because there's not as many restrictions on her, so maybe she wouldn't feel that she needed to go to these extreme measures to be heard. And then also the writer's intention here, so Shakespeare challenges the gender stereotypes here, shows the audience how dangerous women can actually be. Well, actually, he might also be emphasising the fact of how trapped women felt, and how, you know, they were essentially very kind of, well, weak in the eyes of society, and Lady Macbeth is standing out against that, and that could be to emphasise that it wasn't the correct way to treat women. So what we're going to do now is we are going to have a go at creating your own PCOR about how Lady Macbeth is seen as the play as a whole. What I've done is I've written you some sentence starters on the next slide. I've also included the quotations that we had a look at last lesson. I prefer you to pick a different quotation to the one that's been explored here. Obviously, if you're really struggling, then you can use this one. But we did look at a couple, and we did have a think about what they tell us about Lady Macbeth. And I'd like everyone to have a go at writing a full PCOR for me. So I'm not asking you to write, you know, a whole essay, just a PCOR for me.